In this video, we're going to cover the ulna and the radius. Just want to make a note that I am having some struggles with my focus of my camera, so hopefully this works out okay. In your practical, your radius and ulna will be combined within the same section. However, it is up to you to know the differences between the ulnar terms and the radial terms. So if you draw a term, it is up to you to know which bone it is on. That being said, let's start with how to tell the difference between the two, and then we'll get into the features. Starting off with the ulna, I think the easiest thing to kind of recognize is this scoop. The ulna looks kind of like a wrench, and the scoop reminds me of the letter U for ulna. Whereas the radius has this rounded head, round radial. I just kind of associate those together. Let's go ahead and focus on our ulnar features. Starting off, the top of that wrench is going to be the olecranon process. This is the portion that fits into the olecranon fossa of the humerus, as mentioned in the humerus video. Okay, so that olecranon fossa right here, that olecranon process is going to fit right in there. We then have our trochlear notch. Remember, the term notch is kind of like a scoop, and so this trochlear notch is going to fit right around the trochlea. So remember, trochlea is pointy like a T, fits right in there. And then finally, the coronoid process right here is going to fit right into the coronoid fossa of the humerus. Okay, so we've got olecranon process, trochlear notch, coronoid process. On the underside of the coronoid process is this rough bump, and that's going to be our tuberosity of the ulna. And on kind of the side of the coronoid process, we have another notch, this other scoop here. A little bit tricky. This is the radial notch. Yes, it is on the ulna, but this is called the radial notch because the head of the radius is going to fit right into that notch. Okay, and as you can see, it fits in there pretty well, nice and snug. If we then travel to the distal end of our ulna, we have this rounded portion here. This is our ulnar head. And then very similar to what we saw on the skull, we have this styloid process. So maybe it makes you think of a stylus, kind of like a pen. This is our styloid process of our ulna, right? On your diagrams, you'll see that when the radius and ulna are against one another, like this, the space between them is called the interosseous margin. That will not be on your practical. I just want to point that out to you. The other thing is that technically, if your hand is at this end, let me see if I can line these up. What happens is your radius will pivot around the ulna so that you can turn palm up to palm down. So turning palm up is supinating, turning palm down is pronating, and that is going to be the work of that radius pivoting around. And because it has this nice round head that fits into that notch, it can turn. Let's go ahead and cover our radial features. So again, this is the radius. The nice round top of that is our radial head. This large bump is our radial tuberosity. If we move to the distal end, the radius also has a styloid process, so the styloid process of the radius. And then if we go directly across from the styloid process, we have this little notch, which is our ulnar notch. Yes, it is on the radius, and that's because the head of the ulna fits right in there so that the radius can pivot around it for pronation and supination.